Hi everybody, this is Lee, and with this video, I'm talking about Bernie Sanders' recent foreign policy address, um, the world's common humanity and U.S. foreign policy. And he gave this address at Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri. And that there is also video, so I'll post a link to the text and then also a link to the video of what he said. In addition to that, I'm going to post links to some critical articles or some articles that are critical of Bernie Sanders' past foreign policy stances, that he seems to have grown in his views of foreign policy, but there have been past concerns about some of the stances that he's taken towards what's been happening in Washington, D.C., and then around the world. So you can see what he said and what other people said. I'm also going to post links to the grassroots peace movements that are growing and burgeoning and converging. And that one is this weekend that it's taking place in Washington, D.C. Jill Stein, Medea Benjamin, Edward Snowden, and Chelsea Manning will be on the agenda at the No War 2017 World Beyond War conference. And that's this weekend. And then there's going to be one upcoming, also involving Medea Benjamin, and then Ajami Baraka, Jill Stein's vice presidential candidate, on the ticket with her last fall for the Green Party. This is Divest from the War Machine, and that official launch is this October 21st and 22nd. So I'll post links to those as well, in addition to the text of what Bernie Sanders said. So multiple perspectives on a progressive war policy. And then in addition, I believe I'm going to post a link of the Off Fossil Fuels Act by Tulsi Gabbard, herself a combat veteran and still actively involved in training, and that she has also articulated a very common sense, clear-eyed view of foreign policy, and that her Off Fossil Fuel Act is a way to actually legislate the requirement of putting more money towards infrastructure development and then also renewable energy development and jobs programs, rather than putting money towards infrastructure development of war machines and weapons and missions that we're hurting here at home, as illustrated by Hurricane Harvey. And there's a need to rebuild. And so money needs to be redirected from foreign efforts to domestic efforts, that it's necessary. And that this is a part of it. And that those in the affected regions of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, that those congressmen should be called upon. And I hope the citizens and residents of those districts do call upon their congressmen to co-sponsor Tulsi Gabbard's Off Fossil Fuels Act. So anyway, I'm going to post all these links, including the text of Bernie Sanders' foreign policy address. He goes through many different aspects of the economics of war and how basically we've overextended ourselves as a nation. We've overextended ourselves in building empire, the same way that Rome overextended and then as a result declined, the same way that Spain at one time overextended around the world and then declined. The same way that Britain, the United Kingdom, overextended and then declined. I mean, at one point, the sun never set upon the British Empire because Britain had colonies all around the world. And then England declined because they overextended themselves militarily. And that the same thing happened to Germany during Hitler's Third Reich, trying to overtake parts of Europe, parts of Asia with Japan, and then other even parts of Africa as well. They overextended and then declined. And now here we are. We are the world's superpower. Apparently, we are the wealthiest nation, although some of us wouldn't know it from what we see. And that we have, the technology, we have the skills, we have the talent, and it's being misused. And we're overextending. We've got military bases, like 700 all around the world. The sun never sets, apparently, on our empire and our imperialist regime that has caused so much harm abroad and then even more harm here at home. And that we're on a precipice that if we don't make some changes on our foreign policy, that we are going to decline, as these other historic examples show that there is only one way that this is going to end. And that Dwight Eisenhower predicted that we would get to this place, and we have. He said that for all the money that we put towards war making, war machines, weapons development, it means that we are not educating our children, that we are not building hospitals and taking care of healthcare, that we are not providing clothing, we are not providing housing to our people, and that people are going to bed hungry, unhoused, without health care, without access to basic services, and that we are not paying attention to our road building, our infrastructure, our levees, communication systems, electric power development, public works. All of that has gone unaddressed for too long, and that some of our structures are from the New Deal era when there was a lot of infrastructure development, and it needs to be updated, needs to be modernized, needs to be streamlined, and that we can spend money building weapons and sending troops overseas to destroy and then rebuild, or we can just draw everything home and start rebuilding here at home and leaving the world alone, and focusing more on diplomacy and some foreign aid and militarism when it's needed for self-defense, not just as displays of raw power and to meet the corporate bottom line. So lots of views here, lots of views, lots of things addressed. I do see a few issues. For instance, Bernie Sanders going out of his way to emphasize Russia and supposedly Russia's involvement with the electoral malfeasance that happened, when there are every indication and all evidence showing that the malfeasance that occurred was internal. That we've had multiple evidence emerge, statistical analysis by computer scientists, mathematicians, election experts, that it was internal, it was not external influences. And that WikiLeaks provided us primary documentation of this taking place that has not been disputed, and that the DNC fraud lawsuit uncovered even more, and that Chris Kobach of Kansas is using his cross-check system to further disenfranchise and attack voters, accusing them of fraud, similar to the way white supremacists accused black voters of fraud during Reconstruction and used intimidation and lynching and terror and claims of criminality and fraud to intimidate and suppress the black voters. And that now that's being used against all voters who are in the opposition party to the one that Chris Kobach supports. So there's internal issues that should not be glossed over, and I'm disappointed that they were in this speech. And then, there's a few other concerns, kind of smoothing over, jumping. It's good that Bernie Sanders listed out some mistaken military interventions that resulted in further destruction, that solved no problems, only created more. He listed them out. Two missing from the list are Libya and Honduras. that were conducted under the State Department with Hillary Clinton. That was smoothed over. And so, it's good that Bernie Sanders has finally pivoted from domestic agenda to foreign policy, because there was a great gap in his platform of not addressing these issues. And again, some concerns with a few foreign policy endeavors that he did support and did vote on in favor of. But it's good that he's finally joined the other voices that have already been speaking on concerns about our unrestrained militarism, including Senator Rand Paul, Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Jill Stein, Medea Benjamin, Ajami Baraka, and many others who have already spoken out very clearly on some changes that need to be made. And hopefully, restraint and militarism becomes normalized rather than the demand that the United States rule the entire world. That such demands have been a detriment to our own way of life, and that circular logic has actually brought back militarism here at home. That what we've sent out into the world has returned like chickens that come home to roost. It's come back. That all the weapons that were financed by our college educations, our housing, our healthcare, our environment, and our clean water, all of that we gave up or was taken from us in order to finance weapons development, 700 bases, war making, it's being recycled back to us, that those weapons are coming back, and that the personnel that use them to hurt and harm others overseas, that they're coming back to take up domestic positions, and that the torture, the imprisonments, the terror, the use of military grade weapons and tactics, it's happening here against citizens of this nation. Everything that we've sent out, it's coming back, and that we're seeing that. And so that's the other reason behind a need for restraint in militarism, because whatever we send out, our civil liberties have been used to pay for that. Our clean water, our education, environment, healthcare, all these basic things, infrastructure, just as President Eisenhower told us it would. It has. So anyway, good that Bernie Sanders spoke out. I'm going to post all these links and let you review and see what you think. And hopefully more people will be speaking out. Good luck.